Hi everyone, Jennifer Blevin-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today we're going to go through a screen share on the NPPES website on how to enroll or request an NPI number. To get started today, we are going to have to go to the login page for the NPPES portal, or some people refer to it as NPES. It stands for National Plan and Provider Enumeration System. If you remember from previous screen shares that I have done for the Identity and Access Management System, or PICOS, you will remember that the credentials that you create, the user ID and password, in the Identity and Access Management System, or INA system, are the same credentials that you will use to log into this portal and also the PICOS portal. Okay, if you don't already have an existing account or you're having issues, you do need to click on Create or Manage an Account, and it will take you to the Identity and Access Management System to help you with all of these issues. You can also see right here, it notates you need an Identity and Access Management System account to log into this portal because they're the same credentials. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to log in because I have an existing login, and I'm going to go through the verification code step where it texts me the code. So we're going to go ahead and log in. You'll bring us to the home page of this portal. You will see that it provides 3 different options depending on who you are and what you're going to be doing in here. I am not going to show for privacy reasons, but below these options, there is a table showing all the providers and groups in which you have been granted through the INA system to work on behalf of a provider or group. So they would be listed there. But of course, for privacy reasons, I'm not going to show you that. I'm just going to explain it. So there's 3 different options here. There's apply for an NPI for myself. So if you're a provider, you've never had an NPI 1 or individual NPI number assigned to you, maybe you're fresh out of school or something like that, you would click here. I'm not going to go through this because it should be very straightforward. It's going to ask you all the information that you should know because it's pertaining to yourself. The ones that I am going to review are going to be apply for an NPI for another individual. So that would be like me as a manager or an administrator working on behalf of a provider who needs an NPI 1 who has not been assigned one yet. Maybe they're fresh out of school or something like that, and they need assistance. So I am going to go ahead and I would click on this. And it also, to give some definitions, it will give you the information right here. So you can always highlight or hover over these little eyes right here, and it will give you more information, okay? And then the other one is no matter if you're the owner provider or you're an administrator, if you need to apply for an NPI 2 or 1 for a group or organization, this is the option you would choose. And again, you can hover over this little guy and it will provide that information further if you need some questions answered. Okay, so again, I'm going to apologize, just like my last video. I don't have a live environment example to be able to walk you all the way through this, but I'm going to do the best I can to help you hopefully get started and understand what's needed so that you can be successful, whether you're applying for an NPI 1 or an NPI 2. So I'm just going to go right here, and it's asking, am I an employee of the provider or am I a surrogate working on behalf of the provider? If you're unsure of the definition of what a surrogate means in this regard for the portals of INA, NPPES, and PICOS, I encourage you to look at the user guide and look up that definition to see if that fits you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to say I'm an employee of the provider. Again, you have these little bubbles where it can provide you this information. So if you are an owner or work for a provider who renders healthcare services, then you would be considered an employee. If you hover over this one, if you're applying on behalf of an individual or organization, organization that renders healthcare services. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to say I'm an employee and I'm going to hit OK. This brings me to the beginning of the electronic application. Now, again, I'm not going to be able to go through all of this step by step because I don't have a live environment and data to submit. Because of that, you have to go in order. So you have to complete this page in order to move to this page, to move to this page. And because I won't be entering real information, it won't let me. But what I really want to focus on is this main page anyway, because I think this is going to help you. Before you begin, you want to make sure you have all of this information, and this is going to be for the individual provider, right? This isn't for a group. We'll do that one next, but this is all the information you actually need for the provider. And if you are a provider and you would be submitting on your own, then this is going to be the same information that you're going to have to enter, okay? But because there may be people doing this on behalf of someone else, you want to make sure you're prepared and you have all this information ahead of time. So you're going to need the provider's name. This is going to be their legal name, and it should match what's on their state license. Their social security number, their date of birth, country of birth, state of birth, if country of birth is in the United States, of course, their gender, the mailing address, at least one practice location and phone number. So if they don't have a practice location yet because they haven't been hired somewhere or something like that, we would have to wait. At least one taxonomy, because this is going to be tied to the NPI 1 for this provider. Now, it can be changed at a later date, but it's always good to be as accurate as possible. If it's a nurse practitioner, it's nurse practitioner. If it's physician assistant, physician assistant. If it's a doctor in a certain specialty, you'd want to do that, okay? And I have other videos on taxonomy codes that you would want to reference if you're not familiar with what a taxonomy code is. Then you have to put at least one contact person's name. It could be the provider if they prefer to be the contact if they need something. And you need at least one contact person, phone number, and email. So whoever this contact person is, you would also need to provide their best phone number and email, because that's how they're going to communicate with you if something is missing, if they have questions, or when they actually assign that NPI 1 number, you will get it via email. And then the provider taxonomy codes can be obtained from here. This is a hyperlink that will take you so you can look up and try to figure out which taxonomy code is correct for that provider. And if you need any help while you're filling this out, if you're not sure, you can either email the customer service or you can call them during their normal business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern time. And then if you had to do something by snail mail, they give you that mailing address as well. So it's pretty straightforward. It's very easy. Honestly, I would collect all the information. If you already have it, just sit down and bust it out. They should assign you an NPI number pretty quick after you complete this, assuming that everything checks out and everything is accurate and they don't need anything else. So once you're ready to go on, you can hit the next button down here. And this is when you would start filling out the entire provider profile. And you can see all the steps over here, the introduction, the profile, the address, and it matches these bubbles up here. And then once you complete everything and it does an error check, you would submit it. Okay. And it tells you the application status is completed and all of that jazz. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. This one's really, really easy. The group one can be a little bit more daunting with certain things that they ask for, but overall, I'm hoping that this seems pretty manageable. All right, so we're back to the home page and we're going to apply for an NPI for an organization. Again, it asks you if you're an employee or a surrogate. And it's noting here that a sole proprietorship is not eligible for an organizational NPI, right? That makes sense because it's not an organization. It's just a practice with one doctor who is registered as the only doctor, and you bill under their NPI 1 and their social security number or tax ID if they were awarded one from the federal government for the sole proprietorship, okay? If you are applying for an NPI for a sole proprietor, please select cancel and complete an individual provider application. That seems very straightforward, okay? So we're going to go ahead. We're going to say I'm an employee. And it brings me to another introduction page. Everything looks the same as the individual NPI application for NPI 1. This is going to be for an NPI 2 for a group or organization. Again, it goes through everything that you're going to need, okay? You need the organization's name. It should all match that SS4 tax ID form you get from the IRS assigning that tax ID or EIN number. You're also going to need that EIN number, tax ID number. You're going to need the name of the authorized official for the organization. Again, this goes back to my video that I released earlier on how to enroll a group or organization in the INA system, because it has to be enrolled first in the INA system, whatever group or organization, before you can take this next step to get the NPI 2. And in that process, you have to list an authorized official. So you should know this if you are the authorized official, or if you did that registration, you would know who you added as the authorized official. If you don't know, you need to go into the INA system and you need to look up who's assigned as the authorized official, or talk to whomever did register that group, if possible, in the INA to find out who they listed. You need to provide the title and position of the authorized official. You need the phone number, and you need the mailing address that was listed in the INA as the organization's mailing address. You need at least one practice location address and phone number. So if this is still something that you're in the air, you don't have a practice location or phone number yet, then you cannot move forward with this. You do need to have some kind of site to list. Again, it's asking for at least one taxonomy code, and this would be the taxonomy for the group, which could be and very often is different than the taxonomy for the providers that are going to be working in that group. So make sure, again, you check out my taxonomy videos or ask any questions in the comments below if you have a follow-up on that. You need at least one contact person and all of their contact information. Here, do not report a social security number or IRS ITIN in the EIN field, okay? That makes sense. It's pretty straightforward what is needed. Again, if you run into any issues, they have an online help and you can kind of go from there. There's phone numbers, there's email addresses, and addresses. So if you're ready to move forward because you have all this information, you're going to hit next. And this is going to ask a few other additional information that you might not have when you fill this out. The first page is pretty straightforward. Again, I can't move forward with this, but the one place I really want to point out is this health information exchange. This is going to be about your EMR system. This is going to be about how you are sending health information and receiving health information electronically. And if you're not signed up with an EMR yet, or you're not quite sure, there are places on this part of the application that you can leave blank and go back at a later date to fill in. Okay, so don't feel like you have to do it right there. If there are required fields, as indicated by this little red asterisk right here, then you would need to complete those in order to submit the application. But if it's not a required field and you don't know, or you're going to come back to it, that's totally fine. Just write yourself a note to remind yourself to come back. But other than that, you just fill it all out in sequence. Again, you have to complete all of the required fields in order to move to the next bubble or the next category in order to submit. It's pretty straightforward. If you already have an existing NPI and you need to make changes to it, again, if you have access to that provider or that organization, it would be listed down here. And there's different icons that will show if you need to edit something, if you need to resend an email for some reason, if you need to print, if you want the certification icon, making sure that it's been approved and you've been assigned. It will also tell you if the NPI is active or not. It will give you a lot of information. So once it is approved, either for the provider or the group, it will be listed down below and it will tell you the certification date, the status, all of the information you might need. And then it also gives you an option to edit in case you need to update a taxonomy code or update location addresses or add additional location addresses. It will let you do all of that. If you have any questions or comments about this, please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please share this video with any of your colleagues whom you feel would benefit. I really appreciate the support. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.